Okay, we're live, Michelle.
Thanks. I'll just wait for it to come up. We're going to start just a couple minutes late, waiting for everybody to join. So if you could just hold, that'd be great. Just for those of you that are joining, we're going to wait just a second and start in just a couple minutes while more people join on to our meeting now. Please make sure if you are in the meeting itself that you mute. And if you don't want your picture shown on our YouTube feed, please turn off the camera feed. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I'm sure more people will join on as the evening goes. I want to thank everybody for coming and for the administration for putting together as many answers as they could for the FAQ page that's online. Again, we are live feeding, so those of you that are in the actual meeting and not watching it live, then on the live feed, if you want to mute your camera, you may do so, and please keep yourself muted while the beginning of the part of the meeting goes until we ask for questions. At this time, I will turn it over to Bill to start the community forum.
Thank you, Michelle. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for attending tonight. The purpose of this forum is to further answer questions to the best of our ability. In answering questions, we promise a sense of transparency and our best thinking at this moment, given the guidance that we've received to date from the Department of Health, the State Education Department, and the Governor's Office in regards to reopening of schools. I think it's important to recognize that this information is ever evolving and could change within the hour, day, and coming weeks. We continue to receive questions via our community feedback form located on our website. We've done our best to provide a timely response with relevant information at this time. We'll begin with questions tonight that have been submitted recently and have not been answered. Some questions we still don't have answers to. We'll try to have answers to those questions as soon as we have the applicable guidance or have made internal determinations. We'll then move to live questions using the chat feature. You can start submitting your questions at this time, and when we get to that portion of tonight's forum, Michelle will then pose those questions. Any questions that we don't get to within the hour and were not answered will be addressed within our FAQ document. But before we begin, I'd like our viewers to know that we recognize these are really stressful times for all of us. We're putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, while being very aware of the need to shift our path based on feedback and emergent guidance. Taking that metaphor a bit further, we're also putting our best foot forward in planning, adjusting, planning some more, and then adjusting again. Please trust that we're doing our very best to put programming and protocols in place that continue to advance educational opportunities for our students while protecting the safety of students, faculty, staff, and our community. Thank you again for your patience and support, and we recognize the burden that this reopening plan has placed on all of you and understand this isn't easy. We're in this together and we'll get through this together. Before we begin, I'd like to formally ask our administrators and our board members here to introduce themselves, beginning with Chris Rogers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Rogers. I'm the Director of Technology.
Hi, I'm Heather Thomas. I'm the interim elementary principal.
I'm Mark Arquette. I'm the middle school, high school principal.
I'm Kevin Ellis. I'm the Director of Pupil Personnel Services, which handles Committee on Special Education and various other aspects of student learning.
And our board members, please.
Michelle Jacobson, Board President.
Jennifer Jones, Board Member.
Corey Duclos, Board Member.
And I think that's it. So at this time, I'm going to jump into some questions and provide answers. The first, we've had a lot of questions about masking, and the question is, are there any school district guidelines about the frequency and duration of mask breaks? What can I, as a parent, expect my individual child's classroom experiences to be like? So a mask break is a period of time when social distancing can be consistently maintained that is thoughtfully designated as an appropriate time for students and/or staff to remove their masks for a brief period of time. Mask breaks do not need to be continuous. At the elementary level, mask breaks will be provided at the teacher's discretion approximately once every 30 minutes, as long as physical distancing can be maintained. At the secondary level, mask breaks will be provided when physical distancing can be maintained in each cell when possible. There may be exceptions for labs or other special areas. Indoors, these mask breaks may occur when movement is restricted and actions that could increase the likelihood of the spread of the virus are avoided. When outdoors for recess, outdoor class activities, masks are not required when students are seated and social distancing can be consistently maintained. During lunch or snack times, masks may be removed for the period of time that the students are seated. Possible mask break times include when students are working on quiet reading or writing activity or any task that does not require movement or talking. The next question, how exactly will HCS communicate a positive COVID test to the HCS community? Will I know if a student or teacher in my child's classroom or grade level tests positive? How wide is the net cast for contact tracing? So in our reopening plan, we have protocols for a positive COVID-19 case. I'll read those to you. In the event of a positive case of COVID-19, we will follow Education Law 906, which provides whenever a student or staff member shows symptoms of any communicable or infectious disease reportable under the public health law that imposes a significant risk of infection of others in the school, they'll be excluded from school and sent home immediately in a safe and proper conveyance. The school nurse will immediately notify the Madison County Department of Health of any disease reportable under that public health law. The school nurse may make such evaluations of teachers or any other school employees that they may deem necessary to protect the health of students and staff. School staff will immediately report any illness of students or staff to the school nurse. Such reports will be made in compliance with FERPA and Ed Law 2D. The district will have 2 rooms for school health personnel, one for healthy students for nurse treatments, and another for isolation purposes. School nurses assessing or providing care to ill students and staff will follow transmission-based precautions, which include the use of appropriate PPE. If a classroom or facility is closed due to COVID-19, HCS will follow all disinfecting and cleaning guidelines as set forth by the Department of Health. Testing. If and when a student presents signs or symptoms of COVID-19, the individual will be sent home. The parent or guardian of the student should consult with their child's doctor if they should be tested for COVID-19. Staff members who report any symptoms of COVID-19 will contact their primary care provider and discuss whether or not testing is appropriate. If a family does not have a doctor or the doctor is unavailable, individuals should call the Upstate University Hospital's COVID-19 triage line, and you can find that on our FAQ. Please note that when an individual with symptoms is tested for COVID-19, they're asked to quarantine by their healthcare provider until they receive their test result. If the test comes back negative, they're notified by their healthcare provider and no longer need to quarantine and may return to school after symptoms have resolved, unless the individual was placed into quarantine due to an exposure to a positive case. In this instance, the individual will complete the full quarantine period regardless of a negative test result. If the test comes back positive, they're notified by their healthcare provider, and the Madison County Department of Health will contact them for a case investigation. The individual will be issued an order for isolation for a minimum of 10 days from symptom onset. The health department will conduct daily follow-up and release individuals from isolation when appropriate. In regards to contact tracing, the Madison County Department of Health will be responsible for all contact tracing as they would any positive case of COVID-19 in Madison County. They will work closely with the school district and family to identify all close contacts, those who came within 6 feet of the positive case for at least 10 minutes. Those individuals will be notified and issued quarantine orders. They will receive daily follow-up from Madison County staff to monitor symptoms and ensure compliance. The Madison County Health Department will provide the school district with guidance related to cleaning and disinfecting, as well as additional testing of students or staff. School buildings of the positive case will be shut down for at least 24 hours for cleaning and disinfecting, and so that contact tracing can be done. The next question. Will devices for remote learning be supplied by the school for all children or just children who need or request them? If a child is using a family-owned device, will we be provided with information to ensure that the device is sufficient to meet the requirements to complete assignments? We will be providing all of our students with remote learning devices that will be equipped with all the necessary apps, software, webcam, and microphone to complete any assignments. Those will be provided by the district.
And Bill, sorry,
Yes.
and we're hoping that students use those so that they can get used to the device both in and out of school. So we would prefer for them not to use their home device if at all possible, correct?
That is correct. Chris, do you want to add anything to that?
Nothing other than what you guys have already added. We would like to have. We're going to issue a device to every single student. Pre-K through 3 will be using an iPad, and above that will be using a Chromebook. If they're using our devices, we'll be able to make sure that they have the appropriate security on all of them, and that we're able to push whatever apps and services that we need for them. So we want them to get into the habit of bringing the device home with them so that they have it on the day that they're not in school.
Sorry if I can follow up also. Will students be asked to be bringing their devices to and from school? Or will there be device at school if they need to do device work at school?
No, we would like them to bring them back and forth.
Thanks, Chris.
Sure.
The next question. I completely understand that it's not HCS legal responsibility to provide childcare, and I completely understand that HCS can't control the factors that make it safe or not to have students physically in school. So I'm not asking you to bring back younger students for more time. But here's what I'm worried about. I'm not seeing in any of the messaging from the school an acknowledgement of how difficult and sometimes impossible it will be for parents and caregivers to do what HCS is asking. Even with good internet service, it isn't always possible for multiple live sessions to happen in a household at once. That will mean triage parents' work, then older kids, then younger kids. For parents working outside their homes, the childcare arrangements they make may not include the capacity to deal with teachers' synchronous work expectations. For parents working from home, the fact that they are working means they won't always have the capacity to deal with teachers' synchronous work expectations. So, will teachers be asked to be flexible as a matter of HCS-wide policy? While it's not HCS's legal responsibility to provide childcare, we completely understand the challenges that families are facing with childcare, internet access, and instructional support. We want all of our students in school every day, and that's our role to educate every student every day. However, given the guidance of the Department of Health, the New York State Education Department, and the governor's executive orders, we've determined that it's not safe at this time to have all of our students back at one time. As we did throughout the spring, we'll be asking all of our faculty and staff to be flexible and understanding of student circumstances given the unique situations that families are facing. The next question, can we please make the playground usable? We understand that our elementary students love to play on the playground during recess. However, it's a real challenge for cleaning and disinfecting with all of the high contact surfaces. We're currently analyzing if we can safely allow students to use the playground, but until that determination is made, the playground will be closed for recess at this time. Physical education needs to continue to be offered to our children in an in-person experience. Learning to stay healthy and active is a top priority. We agree 100%, and physical education will continue to be offered to all of our students. Those are the most recent questions that have been submitted. There are still some questions that we do not have answers for that we're seeking guidance on and making determinations internally. Once we have those determinations made, we'll make those public and we'll add those to our FAQ and answer those questions. So at this time, I would like to open up to any other questions through the chat. And then Michelle, you can pose those questions and then either I will answer or I'll defer to the appropriate administrator.
Sure. The first one is, do we need to email to get the Chromebooks? And the answer has already been answered. Thank you, Chris. No, all students will get them. So there does not need to be an email for that. Our second question in the chat is, how many hours of screen time will remote learning for students how many hours of screen time will remote learning for students in K-3 involve?
Heather?
So the way that we have the remote learning schedule set up is that there will be a morning meeting between 8 and 9 for the teachers to synchronously meet with their students. And this will set the tone for the day. There will be, a calendar of assignments that students will receive during that morning meeting. Not all of the assignments will involve screen time. So it will be a combination of assignments. There may be in the hybrid model, if students are in the A cohort and they're in school on Monday, teachers may give an assignment for the next day that does not involve screen time. So it would be, if they're working on a writing project, they may be taking that home with them to continue. So we will also have asynchronous and synchronous mini lessons throughout the elementary. An example of a synchronous lesson would be the teacher may be doing a math mini lesson and offer that at 1 o'clock for students to be able to stream into that. That also can be videotaped so that students could watch that and recorded so they could watch it at a different time. I think I spoke at a board meeting about some resources through Columbia that we're really looking at in terms of mini lessons for reading and writing. And so those would be available to students to watch asynchronously at any time that they'd like. They could also go back and watch them again if they needed to if they missed a part of that particular mini lesson. So the only, set in stone synchronous time in the elementary is a morning meeting as a check-in. And I've had many conversations with parents about, work schedules where that's going to be impossible to check in the morning. And teachers are fully aware of that and will make adjustments as necessary so that there may be, other forms of communication to have that check-in time to happen as well.
Thank you, Heather.
Mark, do you want
next?
to?
Go ahead.
Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about secondary?
For the time frame, is that what the question is?
How much time will online learning involve?
So the odd and even days will vary a little bit. Most on the odd and even days for the students who are in person but attending the courses remote. So an example would be Monday, Tuesday, high school is in person, but Thursday, Friday, they are remote. The most they will have would be 3 hours for those individuals. Individuals that are completely remote, it'll be a little bit more once, if they were streaming into the class that the other students are live in, it'll be about 4 hours.
All right,
Thank you.
next question. Will they have specials within the 2 days that they are in school?
So I can address that too. So Kevin and I have been working on a special schedule, and we've gone through various reiterations of that. But the way that it looks right now is that they will engage in PE while they're in school, music, and art. So those are the specials that we have in our current schedule.
Thank you, Heather. Will parents be able to request AM or PM for the pre-K or K students?
So I can address that too. So it has been a huge challenge as we're cohorting students into cohort A and cohort B and AM and PM. So I would encourage individual families to reach out to me if there are requests that they would like to be accommodated, and I can do the best that I can to do that. So the answer to that would be to call as soon as possible the elementary office, 824-6330, or you can email me at hthomas@hamiltoncentral.org with your requests, and I will be happy to have a conversation and get back in touch with you. But we are trying to make those accommodations.
Thank you, Heather. When will high school schedules be available on the parent portal, Mark?
Currently, the counselors are still making some adjustments to try and fit high school students with certain courses like PE and labs into Monday and Tuesday, and then moving middle school students into the Monday and Tuesday. I believe that they're pretty close with that. Chris, do you know what day they have contacted the RIC to open that up?
We've got it set so that we can open it whenever it's ready. It doesn't have a date set on it. They're just waiting for me to call.
So I believe fairly soon, because they are just wrapping up a few loose, trying to tidy up the schedule a little bit for the individual students so that there aren't so many changes after they get their initial schedule.
Thank you. Can class supply lists also be made available online the same day that the teachers/cohort assignments are made?
Yes. So as we're putting together the cohort lists, the supply lists will be posted back up on the website. So there have been some adjustments as teachers we moved into the hybrid model, and so we wanted to give teachers a chance to make adjustments to their class or to their supply lists. So they will be posted by Friday. Yes.
Thank you.
For the secondary, some teachers have already started posting on Schoology. Traditionally, that's where teachers during the summer posted their supply lists. So I imagine that more teachers will be adding on to it as they start looking at their schedules and seeing what the year is going to look like.
If you have any other questions, please use one of the two chat lines to post your question at this time. Bill, another question that was submitted in the past was, will satellite locations for high school and middle school students have an adult supervision?
Yes, they will. There may be a time where, it's an AP class or it's a lab and they're working in a group by themselves in the room adjacent, that there might not be immediate adult supervision. But for the majority of time in our satellite classes at the secondary, there will be adult supervision.
Great, thank you. Will online-only students be issued physical materials to work with at home?
Can you repeat that, Michelle, please?
Yes. Will online only students, so our school at home students, be issued physical materials to work with at home?
Most of our materials will be delivered online. If there's a request for hard copies, then they should reach out to their teachers and let them know, and we'll accommodate to the best of our ability.
And I'll just add in for elementary. So there are resources that will be provided to students that are working in a fully remote capacity. So they will have different resources to use at home for the different, I'm thinking of a foundations program that we use involves some letter tiles. So they will have those at home to keep at home. And so there will be some physical materials. Yes.
How will we do gym class in a remote learning setting?
So most of our phys ed classes, weather permitting, will be outside. Our phys ed staff has been in the building, collaborating on different activities that they can do with social distancing and keeping kids active. So we're looking at different models. They're hard at work, trying to put together a program that meets the needs of kids, meets our New York State requirements for phys ed, and can do so in an outdoor setting.
How is elementary pickup going to be handled?
So that is one of the areas that we are still, we really need to finalize. We've gone through a lot of different discussions about potential ways of handling the pickup, but we have yet to kind of land on one model that we feel best about. So that is just under discussion at this point in time. I just want to tag back into the question about the elementary PE. So the elementary PE teacher has really been hard at work at looking at different activities that can be done for students following some of the physical distancing accommodations, basically. So she has come up with lots of really great ideas about pedometers and an idea about walking across America and tracking steps. She's also come up with some ideas about some outdoor stations where there can be some physical activities done at each of the different stations. So it's been a challenge, but one that is really forcing us to be really creative in how we deliver PE. But and at the same point in time, I think it is kind of exciting because it is, really, we've gotten lots of ideas. So I'm just going to put it out there to anybody that if you see any ideas for some really creative PE or recess activities that we can do in our school, please email them our way. So we're really collecting those ideas at this point.
I'm going to combine two of the questions. Can you clarify about band and orchestra and also about the library use? Will students be able to borrow books?
So I'll talk a little bit about band and orchestra. So on the in-person days, they'll be following their normal schedule. So they will have band and orchestra during those times. They are using the auditorium in their music rooms. We're going to socially distance in there. And during the online or asynchronous pieces, they'll be doing their lessons. They'll have video lessons as well of playing the different instruments.
And library for both elementary and secondary?
Yes, the library will be accessible. We will be checking out books.
And our librarian has come up with a protocol for materials and the way that she will be quarantining some of the materials that come back into our library for a certain number of days before they are rotated. So she also has some recommendations for the number of books that students can take out will be limited at this point in time, and the ways in which that adults will be handling the books in the library. So though we will still be checking library materials out, there will be some protocols in place to ensure safe handling of the materials.
Heather, another one for you. If kindergarten students are doing half days, then is the second half of the day remote/online, or is the half day face-to-face all they do?
Yeah. So the kindergarten program is going to be a solely half-day program. So there won't be a remote component on the alternating AM or PM. So if they're in the AM group, that will be their program. The remote day will continue to happen on Wednesday, but not in the afternoon or the morning.
And lunchtime, where will students be eating lunch?
So in the elementary, our current plan is for students to eat lunch in their classrooms at this point in time.
In high school, we're going to utilize the cafeteria, in the high school gym, and possibly outside when the weather permits.
Bill, I'm going to go back to the document. I'm just waiting for other questions to come in, so I'm just going to pick another one from the document.
Sure.
Do we have a choice of keeping students at home?
Parents absolutely have the choice to keep their student at home. If they're not comfortable sending their student at home, they can opt for the fully online option, and we'll support them.
For all of those that are watching in one of the two methods, if you have other questions, we still have a little bit of time. Please feel free to use the two chat functions to add those questions in. Bill, for those that are wondering, do we have an idea from both
They're
yeah, when the
trying
will
to balance nine component to an all online on their delivery. So we're waiting on them to determine what their cohorting is going to be and what their model will look like. Hopefully by the end of the week or the beginning of next week.
Thank you. I think you should. Any other any other questions? Okay, I have a question here. What is the primary communication method for parents at elementary level? Email, something else?
So the next step in the elementary is to complete the cohort assignments, and an actual packet will be mailed in the mail to each family, and that will indicate the teacher and the cohort that your child has been assigned. So along with some other information, a lot of information actually, it's getting fairly thick at this point in time regarding some of the basics of back to school. And then after that, with the individual teachers, we have, I think, and Seesaw will be used in pre-K through third grade, and Google Classroom will be used in fourth and fifth grade.
Chris, I know there's been some questions about the use of Seesaw in pre-K through 3. Will you just explain why we're continuing to use Seesaw in those grade levels, please?
Sure. So we pay for the enterprise version of Seesaw, which gives us a lot of analytical tools, including being able to align stuff to curricular standards. It also is uniquely targeted towards the younger students. It's got a layout which is very friendly for small fingers. It doesn't require a lot of reading. Nearly everything is icon based, and we just feel at this time that it's the right tool to use for the little kids.
Thank you, Chris. A question for Mark. What will happen with high school electives?
We'll be running high school electives with our normal schedule. So last year, students requested certain classes, and the counseling department tried to fit those students into those classes. So we'll be running them as close to normal as we can be.
Okay, thank you. Next question, 1 second. Making sure I'm not on mute. How's it going to work for students staying at home?
In the secondary, if the student chooses the remote option, they will be following their daily schedule. We have a detailed schedule that we're going to be shared with families soon. And so when their classmates are in person, they will be streaming into the class in person and watching a lesson with their classmates. On the online days, so say the student was a middle school student, they would stream into the classes Thursday, Friday. Then on the virtual days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they'd be doing the same things that the rest of the class would be doing for that particular course. So whatever assignments, they would stream into whatever synchronous classes they're having with everyone else.
Thank you. The service broke up for the high school electives. The answer was high school electives will still be happening. Correct, Mark? Okay. What does each classroom have a max number of people allowed? So will some elementary classrooms be moved and not in their normal location, or will they be in their normal location?
So the elementary classrooms will be in their normal location. And yes, there is a maximum number of students that can safely fit into the classroom using the 6-foot physical distancing. But we have accommodated, we've made those accommodations, and that's the reason for the hybrid schedule. I just want to touch base to follow up after Mark's question about remote learning in the elementary. So at this point in time, we are trying to cohort the elementary students into a remote cohort. So they would be, they would have the entire remote cohort would be assigned a teacher, and that also will be a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning throughout their cohort. So for example, we may have, one teacher maybe have a cohort on B days that is all remote learners, so that we can really tailor the instruction to meet the needs of those remote learners. And they would have different times that they would be able to, small group work that they could set up synchronously, or individual meetings with the teacher. So we are, literally as of a half an hour ago, just have the numbers for the remote students. And so we are really putting those cohorts together to try to address the needs of students that choose to be completely remote.
Thank you. How many students would you say will be in a classroom at one time?
In the secondary, approximately 12. Depending on the room, some rooms are a little bit bigger, some rooms a little bit smaller.
And I think in the elementary, the maximum potential number is 11 at this point in time. So that's, and as I said, we're still finalizing it, but that would be the most, would be 11 to 12. Some rooms can accommodate more students than that.
Will elementary teachers be teaching their in-person students and remote students at the same time, like with cameras?
So if an elementary teacher decides that they want to provide a synchronous lesson, as I had referred to before, they may have a group in front of them where they're teaching a mini lesson, and then they may be, the other remote students can stream into that. It's not necessarily something that's going to happen on a regular basis, but that is a potential for that.
Can students use their own Chromebooks?
We would prefer that they wouldn't. We would ask that they use the school devices for a number of reasons. Chris, I don't know if you want to add on that.
I would just echo the same sentiment. I mean, certainly we can't prevent you from using your own devices, but our devices are going to have all of our schools' security on it. Any bookmarks that we need to share, any apps that we need to share, anything that we need to push out is going to be right there. Our devices are essentially brand new, so they're fast. The batteries last a long time. So we would really prefer it if you would use the device that's provided to you by the school.
Is September 10th still the start date for school?
Yes, it is. We moved the start date from September 8th to the 10th to provide 2 additional staff training days. So we'll have 4 staff training days prior to welcoming students back. There's just so many protocols and procedures to go over that we needed those 2 extra days. So the first day for students will be on the 10th, and that will be cohort A in the elementary. And that will be, if you bear with me 1 second. Cohort A will be in person, middle school will be in person, elementary cohort B will be virtual, and high school will be virtual on the 10th.
Will middle school and high school have study halls on their in-person days?
Yes, they will.
What is the situation with regards to kindergarten screening?
The kindergarten screening will be, the state has extended that date to December. So, and in terms of the exact time and place, like that is yet to be determined.
Started with a statement and then a question. Thank you for your efforts. Are there any needs that can be addressed by community volunteers?
There are. There's a number of needs that we are we're going over those needs internally. I can share with you. We may have a need to deliver food to who already, I know Heather and her team in the elementary have volunteers in the community could help us with, and Mark as well at the secondary. So I don't know if they want to expand on that.
I would just like to say that if you are interested in volunteering, or if you know somebody, if they would please reach out to the elementary. We have yet to determine there's some that very simple, small things that could be so helpful for us in the elementary as we prepare for the year or move through the year. So if there is any interest in volunteering, to please reach out again to me or to the elementary office. And the other piece that I'd like to say is that we had posted our substitute recruitment video. So if there is any, and I've had great feedback from that, so thank you to people who have reached out regarding that. But if you are interested in being a substitute teacher, teacher's assistant, bus driver, please reach out to the district. We really appreciate that so much.
Yeah, I'll repeat what Heather said. Contact me in the secondary. Email right now with the construction going on. I don't have an office. marquardt@hamiltoncentral.org. But I also would like to bring up something that board member Corey Duclos has brought up in the past. This idea of parents helping parents, or using your skills to help other parents navigate this time. So if you're really good with Google Classroom, maybe setting up a time where you can contact other parents and talk about Google Classroom and the methods you're using, what success you're seeing. So I think that there's a lot of room in this community with all the experts that we have in different areas that can really help out a lot.
Kevin,
and we're trying to, sorry, Michelle, I just would like to add, we're working on some internal mechanisms to kind of coordinate the volunteer services and matching the people that are willing to the needs that we have. So that'll be forthcoming.
What will happen with older kids that have IEPs that are staying at home?
Yeah, so students that have IEPs that are learning remotely will still get services at home. So the efforts will be made to meet the IEPs as best we can, even though it's remote learning and they're not here. So yes, they'll continue to get services.
As a new family to the district, is there any open house or anything of that sort for families that are new?
Yes, we are going to be having a new family orientation on the 27th at 6 o'clock. And in the elementary, we'll be sending out that an information sheet in the packet that you'll be receiving with your cohort, as well as the link for you to join us virtually. So that was the 27th at 6 o'clock.
We'll post that to our website as well.
Can I just add to that and to piggyback on what Mark said earlier? I think I hope I'm not overstepping and speaking for the board and saying that, especially for new people, but even people who have been here for a while that need some support during this time. All of the board members currently are parents in the district, so I think all of us would be happy to share some thoughts or helping you get through this time, especially if you're new. And also we have a great PTO, which has a lot of people who I think would be similarly happy to welcome you to the district. Although we can't do it in person as much as we'd like to, I'm sure there's ways that we can help make sure everybody feels comfortable moving into the district right now.
Thank you, Corey. For high school and cohort B, I guess, the first day is online. So will they have their Chromebooks and other devices before that day?
So we're going to try and coordinate a pickup day similar to what we had in the spring when students had to pick up materials or drop off materials.
That'll most likely take place on one of our superintendent's conference days.
We have just about 10 minutes remaining. Are there any other questions at this time that would be helpful to have answered this evening? Please remember that we do have a forum tomorrow at 1 and again tomorrow at 6. Right, I'm going to jump in for one for Chris while we wait for others to type in case they have any. Will technology training be available for parents?
Yes. I plan to hold some live sessions with parents where I give tips and tricks and some tutorials about all of the software and the hardware that we're using, some things that make using Chromebooks and iPads a little bit easier. And I'm also trying to create. We've got a technology section on the COVID section of our website, and I'm trying to put useful user guides there and videos that are helpful, so it can be sort of just a repository of information. Also, my email is there, and people can reach out to me at any time. I've got tools that I can use to help people remotely. I did that quite a bit during our emergency closing, got to know quite a few parents. So, yeah, there will be training and ongoing tech support.
Thank you. At this time, I don't see any other questions. I will give you another couple of minutes since we said we'd be here for an hour. If anybody has any last questions, and then Bill, I'll ask you to wrap it up.
Sure.
So I don't have any other questions coming up. So I think at this time, I'd like to just reread a comment and give two other comments that stated, thank you for all your efforts. Thank you for all your hard work. And thank you for all your hard work. I think it's important that we hear that as the teachers that are listening as everybody on the committee put things together for you, the administrators. You guys have put a lot into this, and we know it's stressful for everybody, but we do really appreciate, and one here, we really appreciate you, as I was going to say that. So, Bill, I'll turn this back to you.
Thank you, Michelle. And I'll just reiterate that, thank you to everybody. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's been a team effort. And, our faculty, staff, our administrators, our board, our community members have been extremely positive and accommodating. And that means a lot. It makes this work, as challenging it is, a little bit easier. So in the next 2 weeks, we'll continue to meet internally to try to put all of these required puzzle pieces together. Now that we have parent intents, we'll be able to announce elementary cohorts and teacher assignments by the end of the week. Our secondary schedules will be forthcoming. We'll also continue to look at gaps in the delivery of both our remote in-person instruction, our supervision, our transportation, our arrival and dismissal protocols, and the delivery of meals to make sure we're preparing for our opening. We have a lot more work to do, but we're working diligently and we are making progress. So I thank you all for your questions. I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your understanding during these unprecedented times. Your positive support in this time of high emotion. It means a lot to us. I'd like to thank our panel for tonight, and I look forward to hearing from everybody in the near future. Please continue to check our FAQ page. We'll try to answer questions as quickly as we can for those questions that have not been answered. So again, thank you, everybody, and have a good night.